Good morning, afternoon, evening, YouTube, whenever you are watching this. So today is Saturday, it's a leg day. Super excited because I'm going to Muscle Bound, which you guys will have seen on my channel a few times if you have watched. It's about a 25-minute drive from where I am, so basically makes sense to get myself there for a big leg day today, rather than just kind of doing it in my usual environment, which, let's be honest, like gets pretty boring. So it's time, it's potato chopping time. It's time to make my pre-workout meal. So to be fair, I'm probably coming towards a point now where I can maybe look to have something other than potatoes. The fact that how long post-diet am I now? About 5 or 6 weeks. So, you know, for satiety reasons, I was always opting for potatoes. And now I'm maybe thinking, actually, you know, I'm quite full. But to be fair, it takes 25 minutes to get to Muscle Bound. So I should be digesting that on the way to the gym. And best believe I won't be waiting long to set off to the gym because I'm excited. I want to go now. I don't know if anyone ever gets in there. I'm not particularly hungry. I didn't eat my oats that long ago. And it's just like, I know I obviously need to eat again before I go and train legs. But, you know, when you're just so excited to go and train that you can't be bothered to eat, you just want to get on with it. Yeah, the potato chopping is going on underneath the camera today. I already knew that my chopping was absolutely terrible in the last video. I was like chopping quite close to the screen and I knew it was bad. Like, our knives are just completely... Our knives are just completely blunt, and yeah, that's my excuse anyway, but they literally are blunt. If you've ever watched me chop potatoes, it is quite painful to watch. We do need to sharpen the knives, we just don't. So you can't see it this time around. Someone did comment on my potato chopping, which I found amusing, by the way, but I'm just saying, I was expecting a comment. I was like not shocked, and I spare you all the pain of watching me actually chop the potatoes this time. Pretty sure it's out of shot. But yeah, weight has been trending up the last few days, so obviously food got upped on Tuesday's check-in. I think I'm 145.8 this morning, so it's just slowly trending up, which obviously, as a female, sometimes, you know, can be a little bit, oh, you know, we're also fixated on the scales going down as females or being smaller. And even like years into bodybuilding, it's still one of them where you're like, oh, you know, I'm going to be losing my leanness, I'm going to be gaining more body fat now, and, you know, all that sort of thing. But it's what needs to be done. I am genuinely really excited for this next push-up now. I think we've got about something like 110 days until my next mini cut. So honestly, when you structure your off season and plan out the phases, like, it flies by. So there is honestly no time to waste in getting putting on some new tissue. So that is the plan, and I am psyched for a big leg day. You've seen my Saturday leg day on the channel already. Did it a couple of videos ago. So yeah, obviously this time will be slightly modified because in a different gym, different kit. You know, yes, I can still use the horizontal leg press and things like that. But the question is, God, watching me prepare food is painful, isn't it? Just the dry seasoning, because it never gets closed properly and then it dries up. Just have no standards, clearly. Sorry, guys. I should really not prep food on the channel because it's not a nice watch, is it? But hey ho. Anyway, getting sidetracked. So yeah, can still do stuff like horizontal leg press. I've got about 4 or 5 adductors to choose from. What else do I do? Like the leg curl, stuff like that. So we'll kind of play it by ear. If I want to change some exercises while I'm there in the moment, I will. So we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, 270 grams of potatoes going in. That'll be with 5 hex sausages. You've seen it on the previous video. I always have this meal. No avocado with this today. No, actually, there will be avocado with this today. 52 grams is 10 grams of fat, so that's the meal. And I've also had my oats this morning, 67 grams with 36 grams of whey protein. I put like 10 grams of carbs 15 grams of carbs from berries went on. So that was like, do you really need to know the exact quantities? It's a bit weird because they're very specific to hit the exact macros. But yeah, 100 grams of raspberries, 110 grams of blueberries, 20 grams of peanut butter on top for the fats. That was my meal 1. This is my meal 2, pre-workout. For post, like while I'm at the gym, I'll probably take a bagel. Bagels are back in my life now. Now that food's been upped, I have room for a bagel. Because like, I think meal 1 is like 60 grams of carbs. Meal 5 is 60 grams of carbs. And like my post-workout meal is 100 grams of carbs. So, and then obviously with the fruit carbs on top of that, I'm at 275 net carbs now. I realised that I kept saying trace in my last video, which was really misleading, because obviously trace is what comes from other sources, like when you get trace protein from bagels, because you're getting them predominantly for the 40 odd grams of carbs that come from the bagel. And then, you know, the trace protein from bagels is kind of just what, sorry, I'm knocking the camera while I put the potatoes in the air fryer. But yeah, the trace protein is in the bagel. So I kept saying trace when I meant net, but my net carbs at the moment on training day are 275, and it works out at about 320 carbs when I'm done with the day. So when I've all that comes from the trace carbs from other food sources. So yeah, that will be what I'll do. I'll take a bagel with me and some rice cakes. I think I've got this new obsession with these like balsamic rice cakes, balsamic and beetroot. They're unreal, expensive, like $2.75 a packet, and it's, you only get 13, and I have like four in a go, so it's like 3 servings, and I'm through the packet. About £1 per serving if you think about it, but they're really nice. So that'll be that, and then I'll come home for my post-workout meal, which you'll see in a bit. One thing I love about Muscle Bound is that mezzanine for the cardio, where you can just overlook the whole gym, get yourself in the vibe for the session. So I just did a few steps really, just to kind of get myself warmed up and ready to go. And then as per my usual Saturday session, starting with lying ham curls, and I used the Prime. Obviously, when you've got a chance to use Prime kit in any gym, obviously go for it. With this one, this is I think it was my last set, so I actually just loaded it in the mid-range. Like obviously with the Prime kit, you've got the ability to kind of load weight in the shorten and lengthen ranges. I just had it in the mid for this set. I think the first couple of sets I put the plates at the top just to make it a little bit harder in the shortened range. So yeah, that was pretty fun. And then moving on to horizontal leg press, again as per my usual Saturday leg session, and I used the Nautilus press, which is a good one. I've got a Nautilus in my usual gym, House of Gains, as well. But yeah, this one seemed pretty light because I was able to stack the whole thing. I mean, to be fair, I'm not far off the stack in House of Gains, but still, it was pretty cool because I haven't stacked a leg press in a long time. And to be fair, when I have, it's not been with the level of control, or sort of just not even control, but like continuous reps. Like a lot of the time I find like when you're doing big compounds and stuff, like if you're taking so fucking long between your reps, it's worth noting that, you know, like if you can't keep that weight continuous and really just keep that tension constantly driving through the muscles, I question whether it's really worth moving such heavy load, risking injury, risking joint pain for that, when you can just like lighten the load a little bit and keep the reps like as continuous as possible, obviously until those last few reps where you will naturally have a little bit of a longer pause between reps. But for me, it's a gauge of when the set's coming to a close, when I'm just finding that I'm taking a little bit too long between my reps and it's not that continuous. But yeah, it was a fun set doing this on the stack, to be fair. Next up, I was a naughty girl and I tried barbell RDLs for the first time in a long time. Not advisable after a deload. So now it's Monday while I'm doing this voiceover and my hamstrings are still absolutely fried. But yeah, I connected so amazingly well with them. Like I was really surprised when I watched this set back, because I had 100 kilos loaded on the bar, and you know, weight wise, as I was working up to my working weight, it felt fine. But I was questioning whether my form would actually stay that strict. But yeah, realistically, I was really happy with this. Obviously, as you can see, I'm hinging back with my glutes as much as I can. And then when I get to that point where, I can no longer actually stretch my hamstrings, that's when I'll get that small bit of knee flexion. You often see people doing RDLs wrong because they'll flex their knees way too soon, like on the way down. And that is taking the tension off your hamstrings. But this setup was so amazing. I really, really felt my hamstrings so well. But connecting well with RDLs has been a long time coming for me. So I think it had a lot to do with just resetting the movement. Like I've not done it for such a long time. I was going in with a fresh perspective, no expectations, no kind of preconceived ideas of how it was going to be. In the past, it's really kind of got into my lower back a little bit too much and caused me too much bother. But then that's also been in line, I think, with the exercise selection and the exercises that I was performing beforehand. Whereas this time, obviously, done my lying leg curls. I've then done a very much glute ham focused leg press. Like you can obviously bias a leg press, especially I find the ones that I use, those like the Nautilus Nitro types, the sort of horizontal ones, they're almost on a little bit of a pivot. They almost converge at the bottom and it properly gets into your glutes. And I never get too much quad engagement on those kind of leg presses. They're then fried. My like general posterior is fried, and then going into RDLs after that,
when my hamstrings are already like really activated has definitely made a huge difference. Like I honestly felt every single rep of these just ripping through my hamstrings. And yeah, it was fantastic. Obviously glutes at the top as well if you want to squeeze them. But yeah, with the leather belt as well, just I think that helped provide me a lot of nice protection as well for my lower back. So I didn't feel it in my lower back at all. Really, really happy with these RDLs. And then onto the boring movement, but you know, this goes in with all my Saturday sessions. If you've watched my previous leg days, then you'll have seen this. So basically the RDLs were instead of walking lunges, because I hate walking lunges, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to remove them from my plan going forward. And I would just love to be able to do like a hip hinge again. I truly believe that in order to really gain that general like posterior chain density, like thickness in your erectors, hamstrings, everything, like I really do think you need to be hip hinging in some kind of pull where you're actually coming from the floor. Like obviously RDLs, we're not touching the floor, but we're still pulling from the direction of the floor. And I do think having a movement of this form, whether it's stiff leg deadlifts, some form of like rowing from the floor, anything where you're hinging, any kind of just any hip hinge from the floor literally, should be in your program. And it hasn't been in mine for a while because I was deadlifting on a Friday until like, you know, my diet got a little bit, well, to be honest, from the start of the diet, because it was a mini cut and I just knew that my deadlift strength would die pretty quickly, and I didn't fancy, you know, risking it really in terms of injury either. So I pulled deadlifts pretty much straight away. So yeah, but I have been doing weighted walking lunges on a Saturday session, and I just dread them every week. No one likes walking lunges, you know, and I thought, let me see how it feels to do RDLs instead, considering this is like a glute ham based session, really a general posterior based session. I thought, give it a go. And then so that replaced my usual weighted walking lunges, and then my usual exercise 4 is always cable kickbacks. So this is what we did. You can see how fried my glutes were because I'm not really getting a full range of motion here, but I honestly was just doing as much as I could, and it was genuine torture. Glutes on fire. So coming straight from that into abduction next, just to fry my glutes that last little bit at the end of the session. You'll notice a lot of the time that I'll just sit forward. Obviously, I've just got short levers at the end of the day. My legs are not very long. So if I sit back in the seat, then I am actually like driving through the pads like so far away from my abductors that I don't get much out of it. So I do need to sit forward, and I often have to on any piece of machinery. So that's pretty much just the only reason why I'm sat forward while I'm doing this. Like obviously you've just got to find the right setup for you. So it's not like I'm saying, you know, you need to sit forward when you're doing abduction. It's just for myself, I need to because I'm short. So yeah, this pretty much wraps up the leg portion of the session. So as per every single Saturday, glutes absolutely fried by the end. I never end up going heavy on the abductors because, you know, my glutes are already fried by that point. So just like delts to finish really. And at the end of the session, I did try and do my 25 minutes of cardio, but genuinely their cross trainers were like a really weird movement. I found it really painful, and I was just honestly so sore. So I only ended up doing 10 minutes. Don't tell my coach. And finally, just the delt work, which would usually be single arm, cuff lateral raises. But I'm in a different gym. They're really boring to do. Everyone hates single arm movements. It's a bit of an anticlimax at the end of what was a pretty mega leg session, to be fair. So I just hopped on this Nautilus Nitro seated lateral raise machine. I do actually use this one in one of my local gyms as well. I do have 2 gym memberships, so when I say that, yeah, I do train at 2 different gyms, but one of them has this and I'm used to using it and I like it. I get on with it. I know what weight to use. Not a lot, lol. It's like surprisingly just hard. So yeah, but really satisfying. Yeah, happy way to end the session. Sick time.
Oh, I am absolutely smashed now. I don't know about anyone else as well, but do you ever get like a dry mouth when you're training? It's like sore, man. It's sore. I've just put a little bit of lip balm on it. But yeah, it's stinging. So I need to keep on top of that. But my God, the post-workout feeling of like just pure, like you're being slapped in the face with fatigue. If you don't get like that after your sessions, I don't know what you're doing in the gym. But yeah, it's hitting me hard now. But it's food time. So I've got this cereal to have. This is literally so much protein. I'm going to have 60 grams of this, which works out as only 20 grams of carbs, but like 22 grams of protein, which is pretty much going to cover my protein quota for the meal. And then I'll add, I think it's like 50 grams of golden nuggets. Obviously, these are just more like pure like carbs, like rice-based cereal and stuff. So it's just like pure carbs. I did track it on the way home. So how much? Yeah, 50 grams of these.
and then 27 grams of Cookie Crisp, and that will take me to a total of I think it should be 100 grams. 40 from the golden nuggets, 20, oh yeah, and then 20 from the cereal, which gives me 80 grams of carbs, and I'm gonna have another, well, I've had 20 grams of carbs from the rice cakes, which I smashed in the gym in between. So I trained, and then I did some steps on the treadmill after that, just to wind down a bit. And then I just managed like 10 minutes of cross-trainer cardio, which sounds bad, but I was just smashed. So I didn't really want to actually finish that cardio. It was like, don't judge me, by the way. Clearly used this yesterday, I haven't washed it up yet. You guys, like I said, I really shouldn't show you what I eat, because it's, you know, I just don't have any standards, clearly. We all do weird shit like this, don't we? But some people just don't film it and put it on YouTube. Whatever, I can't be arsed. It's only yesterday's post-workout cereal. Just don't judge me, okay? Even if you do, I don't care. Actually, I didn't realise I haven't opened this one before. I haven't tried it. But yeah, this company, Surreal, sent me like some samples. So they sent me, this one is called Frosted. Smells pretty like cinnamony, to be honest with you. I'm not exactly sure on what the flavour is. But yeah, I do have one that is actually cinnamon. But that is like super overpowering. I had it in my cereal yesterday, and I just couldn't taste the Cookie Crisp and the golden nuggets. And I like variety in my cereal, guys. I'm not that kind of gal who can just eat one whole massive bowl of the same cereal. So that is why I've got like 3 different ones going on. 60 on the dot. Yeah, so they sent me these. I really liked the peanut butter one I had. I liked the cocoa one as well. These ones, I don't know if they'll be a bit overpowering as well, potentially. But this is just me being really fussy with flavours. So, in terms of like the quantity of cereal you get and the protein you get from it, and then you can obviously have higher quantities of other cereals, I like the vibe. And it means that I don't have to mix whey in with my cereal either. So, I don't have to like, you know, you can just pour the milk and not have to mix it with whey, which you don't always want to do. You don't always have a whey that really goes, you know what I mean, with milk. So, actually, I do like the vibe. I probably wouldn't buy these flavours necessarily, so I'm just not like a cinnamony kind of gal, but I did really like the peanut butter and the cocoa one. So potentially worth a shout. I'll always give honest reviews of like things I get sent. I do have a discount code. I'll put it in the bio in case anyone wants to check it out. Like I said, it's just really good macros, to be fair. Like, and the volume of cereal that you can actually get and get your protein in as well. It's decent, and the flavours are decent. It's just, like I said, yeah, they're fine. It's just because I'm a weirdo and I like to mix my cereal, I want to be able to taste them all. And I just felt like the cinnamon one overpowered it. So that's a very odd review, to be fair, because no one does this with their cereal. But yeah, how much is that? 60 plus 50 plus another 27 from here. It's about 140 grams of cereal. Yeah, so cereal volume is pretty high. And then we get 15 grams from fruit, so... Oh, no! This is why you should always... I've literally lost my train of thought. This post-workout vibe, guys, is hit me hard. Honestly, my brain is so dead right now. It's so dead right now. I was going to say, this is why you put a clip on your bags when you put them in the freezer. When you're like halfway through a packet of, I don't know, veg or whatever. And I'm just brush and shoveling with my hand because we've lost our brush and shovel and we don't know where it is. And we refuse to buy another one because we're like, we'll definitely find the one that we've lost like many, many months ago. So yeah, we don't have a brush and shovel, which would be handy right now to shovel up this absolute mass of raspberries that I've just dropped on the floor. And on top of this, I did actually just clean the floor as well on the weekend just gone. So it's great to have loads of raspberry shit all over it. So the plan is actually to have some Morello cherries, which I was in the middle of getting out of the freezer until the raspberries decided to fall out. So I've got some of them, 10 grams of carbs worth, which is like 84 grams, which nobody needs to know that information, but there you go. And then I'm going to make up the last 5 grams with some grapes. I've been having grapes for the last few days. There's like 15 grams worth of carbs from grapes, but I'm just in the mood for cherries or today, so
Okay, it's later in the evening now, it's 7:30, so it's time to make my meal 4. So the blue light blockers are on, but I am actually going to take them off because they just look silly when I'm filming. So yes, as per always for you guys, I am, you know, being less optimal with my pre-bed routine. Best be grateful. Right, I was planning on having like chicken and rice for like my meal 4. So 40 grams of carbs left to get into meal 4, which would be 50 grams of jasmine rice. But then I didn't get any chicken out the freezer, and I did go and buy some tuna when I went to finish off my 4,000 steps that I had left to get. So I feel like I'm gonna have tuna instead. Only dilemma being that tuna doesn't really go with rice. And then I could get 40 grams of carbs from a bagel, which also doesn't really go. But then this is me we're talking about. Remember, I don't have standards. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a bagel. Also because I'm not particularly hungry. And yeah, I'm just eating because it's time for meal 4. Like, again, another off-season tip. You cannot wait until you are hungry to eat. Like, it's when like clients say to me, oh, I wasn't hungry, so I didn't get on my macros. Like, if you wait for hunger cues, you just don't eat some days. You can't wait for hunger cues. Like, when you're in a gaining phase, you know, the same way that when you're hungry, you don't succumb to the hunger and eat, is the same way in an off-season that you just eat when you're not particularly hungry. So it's like, yeah, like you've just got to sort of adhere to set meal timings. Like if I was to eat any later than now, I would run the risk of then having to eat my meal 5 really late, which I'd like to kind of get in about 9ish. I like to sort of eat at 9 personally. Like I know people say, oh, don't eat before you go to bed, blah blah. Like literally don't care. Like it suits me, and I prefer to just go to bed all nice and full, and that's me. So that's what I tend to do. So I need to eat now, otherwise that's going to be a bit of a chore. So eat this now. It's only really like a salad with a little bagel, so it's not going to fill me up too much, which is another reason I'd rather have the bagel than the rice. And then we go for the meal 5, which will just be oats again, but this in the meal 5 I had chocolatey oats instead. So that's the difference. Like this morning I had white chocolate hazelnut whey. Tonight I'll have like a chocolate, I think it's a chocotella from Perform. So yeah, I'll have the chocotella with my Nutella and my dark chocolate and my berries, and that'll be my meal 5. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to do. A tuna bagel with a bit of salad, veg, basically a tuna salad, but I'm just having a bagel on the side because, like I said, I don't really have any standards, and it'll fill me up a lot less than rice. There you go. This is why I like macros, because I can change my mind at the last minute. As always, the garlic fry light goes on my salad. So it's like the lowest calorie way to dress your salad and give it flavour. The lowest calorie way that I found anyway. So there we go. Wish me luck with this special device. It's usually quite good, to be fair. I've been buying ring pulled tuna for the longest time, so I'm not used to having to actually... Oh, I feel like I smashed that though. I feel like I smashed that. That was quick, wasn't it? Oh. Now, to make the tuna like less shit by my standards, which are low, as you know, I just add a little bit of lighter than light mayo. So there we go. Mix it in a bit just to give it a little bit more of, so it's not just like cat food basically. But I just weirdly like tuna at the moment. Since like halfway through my diet, I just went off like chicken, so I rarely have chicken now, to be honest, which is why I didn't really get any out of the freezer, because it's just not in my mind to do that really. So yeah, I just started having tuna because it was like an alternative protein source, and obviously if you get a tin of tuna, it's 25 grams of protein, which is exactly what I need to get per meal anyway. Add a bit of pepper to it as well, give it a little bit more flavour. But yeah, I just weirdly haven't gone off tuna yet. Like I just like having a tuna salad for my final meal, and then this week while carbs have been upped, like I've been having to think, oh, I've got more carbs to get in, which is why, you know, I'll have the bagel, because I didn't end up having that post-workout. I just got home and had the large bowl of cereal instead. I wanted to wait instead, so I just had the rice cakes in the gym, and then came home and had a load of cereal, and then I saved the 20 gram of carbs from, so I've got, rather than having 60 with my oats, because that's too many oats in my opinion, I already have 67 grams for 40 grams of carbs, so I don't want 60 grams of carbs worth of oats at the moment. I'm not hungry enough really for that. So
I stick to 40 grams of carbs for that meal, and then I had a spare 20 going from the post-workout meal, which is why I've got 40 to have from the bagel. So yeah, this is how I do my macros per meal sometimes. They're not absolutely on the money, like exactly as they're laid out in the plan. Like I don't have 60 grams of carbs in the meal 1 and meal 5, and then I don't have 100 post-workout necessarily. I do tend to tweak around a little bit and spread my day out, but I just still get the macros in. So I'm a little bit more flexible, and obviously that's not going to make any bloody difference to my physique development, so long as obviously I am prioritising having like a decent amount of carbs post-workout, and so long as I am making sure I do have a decent amount pre-workout as well, which I always do. I always have 2 meals. I always have my oats first, and then my potatoes, which, like I mentioned earlier, may change to rice or whatever. So I always have at least I have about 80 grams of carbs from starch, and then the fruit on top of that. So about 95 grams of carbs pre-workout as a minimum always, and then I'll have 80 post, sometimes 100. Honestly, this is just a typical day where you'll see that I do make some manipulations, but on the whole, this is roughly what I'll have with a bit of swapping here and there. Obviously, my macros just got swapped, like upped on Tuesday, so I'm in a bit of an experimental phase at the moment, and then I'll fall into a little bit more of a rhythm with what I have probably in the next few weeks until food gets upped again. Right then, I hope you enjoyed my very messy full day of eating on a leg day. So there, an insight into what it's really like in my kitchen. Just general chaos, but we get the food in, we get the macros in, we make the progress, so it's all good. Yeah, check in tomorrow. I doubt there'll be any changes, obviously, just, had a food change last week, so we'll kind of see how that goes for a few weeks, really, a couple of weeks at least. And yeah, weight's kind of fluctuated. It was like down by 2 pounds after that leg day. Like it was like 144 in the morning. I was like, that's random. And then it's back up to 145.6 this morning. So like I always say to my clients, weight will fluctuate and it doesn't always correlate with how you imagine. So you've really just got to take it with a pinch of salt, log it, crack on with your day. And the data across the week will be collected. So yeah, I think across the week on my weekly average from like the week just gone to the week prior, the weight slightly dropped. So, with that food increase. But that's great, that's what we want. We want to be responding well. We want to be using the food, fueling our performance. It's not there to gain weight. It's there to fuel your training performance, to make improvements, so that I can start adding in RDLs and bigger compounds and recovering from them. Obviously, my hamstrings are in bits still. Trained legs today with a client, which was gorgeous, but obviously at the same time, it was a struggle at first because I was thinking, God, like almost if I'd been training myself, I would have potentially not done legs today, but because it was like a pre-agreed session with a client who was driving through to Leeds from like an hour and 20 minutes away, especially to come and train at my gym, then yeah, I was doing legs today no matter what. But luckily it was a quad focused session, and you can very much get your quads pretty much for the whole session, like because it's like pendulum and an angled leg press and stuff like that, creating the most knee flexion possible on those movements. Like you're gonna get all quad. Like I was on the pendulum and I didn't feel my hamstrings at all, so it wasn't too bad, to be fair. My entire legs are probably just going to be battered tomorrow after the session, but we're not easing in post deload as one should, because I'm going on holiday in 3 weeks time, so I've only got 3 weeks left from this Thursday to be able to absolutely batter myself before having a week's rest on holiday. So that's why I'm being a little bit more aggressive straight out of the gate into this new training block, but also because I just generally always do this, even though I say I'm going to ease myself in and I never do. Hey ho. That's all the updates. Hopefully you actually took something from this video. There's some pointers here and there on the training or the nutrition or whatever. But yeah, as always, my DMs are always open on Instagram. Please drop comments below, ask me questions, just give me some general feedback on the videos. They're always welcome. Obviously, if you aren't subscribed and you're watching this, please do subscribe. If you've got this far, congratulations, and please do like the video because it really helps me out. Anything else, coaching inquiries is below. There's links for that. I'll put the Surreal one below as well. Link to use my code to buy all your Perform Whey and general supplements as well. All below as always. So yeah, check them out. And until next time, ciao for now.